In the beginning, I would like to welcome you all, speakers, moderators, and participants alike. We are starting in 2022 an interesting and challenging year from the perspective of cybersecurity and geopolitics. It has been proven over time that one of the best protection measures in cybersecurity is education, doubled by the feedback of interesting stakeholders. New technologies bring great advantages, but with some costs. But they are also challenge the security paradigm, education being that one that must give the level of knowledge to the new social evolutions. We are now at the third monthly conference dedicated to cybersecurity. The first two events remind you that they took place last year on November and December. As usually, today's conference is organized by the Maritime University of Constanta in cooperation with CyBureau, the Institute for Cyber Policy Studies from Israel, Marsiskowi, Center of Excellence in Maritime Cybersecurity from our university part, TID Group, the In-Source Development Group Romania, and I2DS2 Integrated Security Defense and Intelligence Services, also from Romania. Together with Tal Pavel, the president of CyBureau, we have invited today as speakers two great personalities in terms of cybersecurity and cyber knowledge. Mr. Horatiu Gârban, Cyber Defense Training Manager at European Security and Defense College, and Mr. Ronan Maros, CEO at Cyberstar, a subsidiary of Zim company, an important company in maritime field, but not also maritime. It's also about entire logistics chain. The moderator will be Radu Stănescu, ECCC governing board member, and also a very good friend and collaborator of our series of conference. I remember he was the lead speaker in the first event in November. We are fully convinced that a good collaboration at international level can lead to the improvement of the quality of cybersecurity education. As you already know, the Maritime University of Constanța is a member of European Security and Defense College since 2020. Within the ETEE activities, education, training, exercise, and evaluation, ESDC, in collaboration with our university, will organize this summer a series of educational activities in the field of maritime cybersecurity. The first will be the summer school, centered on education, training, exercise, and evaluation. This kind of activity will be organized at the headquarters of our university sometime in July 2020. The second event will be the conference, our yearly conference organized simultaneously with the Cyber ETE Summer School. And that activity will be centered on, will be focused on cyber power geopolitics, cyber diplomacy and deterrence, cyber intelligence, surveillance and privacy, cyber society resilience, mutually assured cyber security, ransomware, global terrorism, cyber insurance and supply chain. And so that's only the short list of important topics from our common conference. The third will be a course organized by our university in collaboration with other important institutions at the European level. And I'm thinking here about ICI from Romania or Piraeus University from Greece. It's about maritime cybersecurity course able to be delivered on the second semester. But there is so much to say that we will have to give to another participant as well, because I don't want to treasure all the time with my introduction. I want to transfer now the virtual stage to Tal Pavel to address a few words from Cybureau. Tal, please take the virtual floor.
Good morning, Professor Reichel. Good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers, participants, and attendees. Welcome to our third event of Cybersecurity Monthly, co-organized by, as mentioned, CMU, Constanta, Maritime University, Romania, Cybureau, the Institute for Cyber Policy Studies, Israel, Cisco Center of Excellence in Maritime Cybersecurity at CMU, Romania, TAD Group, the In-Source Development Group, Romania, and I2DS2, Integrated Security, Defense, and Intelligence Service, Romania. The new year 2022 posed ongoing cyber threats to existing and new victims across multiple sectors and around the globe by a wide range of actors, in addition to new threats during the COVID-19 era. In today's session, Cybersecurity Perspective and Predictions, we will discuss two perspectives of this cyberspace: the training for tackling and defending from cyber threats by our first speaker, Mr. Horacio Garban, Cyber Defense Training Manager at the European Security and Defense College, Romania, and cyber threats to maritime sector by our second speaker, Mr. Ronen Meroz, CEO, Cyberstar, subsidiary of Team Israel. I'd like to thank our moderator, Mr. Radu Stanescu, ECCC governing board member, and of course my partner to the organizing of the event, Professor Gabriel Raicu, Vice Rector for Innovation and Research at Constanta Maritime University. I welcome and greet you at the beginning of our event, Cybersecurity Perspective and Prediction, our first event for the year 2022. Thank you for joining us. May this event be valuable and fruitful to you. I wish you all the good wishes, especially those days, all the good health. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Gabriel, for inviting me again. It's a real pleasure now to join the conference as moderator this time. You were saying about November, but when you start the sentence earlier, I thought that you're remembering the first conference in Constanta. I think it was actually the first cybersecurity conference of the university, or the second, something like that, when we started speaking about this very interesting subject. And to be honest, I was really intrigued, but in a good way, that I'm seeing now representative of companies of cybersecurity dedicated to such a specific industry as the maritime industry. I'm so looking forward to hear what Mr. Ronen has to say, and looking for a debate. I hope also from the floor we might get some questions. And nevertheless, I have also some of mine, which I already put down on paper now while I was listening to you all. So yeah, with no further ado, because we would like to be on time, right? I would invite Mr. Ronen Meroz to take the floor. Oh, it was Horacio, sorry, my bad. I will invite Horacio to take the floor on this new topic. I really think that nowadays the topic of cybersecurity, and especially in this area, let's say the very close to the Black Sea area, it's a quite hot topic, and really keen on hearing what Horacio has to say from his point of view from the European Security and Defense College. So Horacio, please take it on.
Thank you, Rad. I hope that the sound is okay. You can hear me good. Good. Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you, Tal. Thank you, Radu. I think it was too much. I'm not quite a personality or something. I'm just a normal guy trying to do something on two levels. First, for education, and second, for raising a little bit the cyber awareness. Yeah, I will not have a classical presentation with share screen or something. I would just introduce some facts, and I will speak about some, let's say, challenges we faced and we are still facing in this interesting times. So let me start with some words about me. So I'm Horatiu Gârban. I'm a seconded national expert from Romania, now working for another year in European Security and Defense College, which it's how to explain better. So it's some kind of it's a network. It's a network of partners, in fact. So it's not quite the classical way of a university, of a college or a training institution. No, it's just a network, and here. In this network, we just succeeded, and we managed to put together really good institutions, really good actors, really good training actors, and not only so, even some companies, even some associated partners, meaning in the EU, let's say, approach, an associated partner. It's a partner, a training partner from outside European Union. Union, not geographical site. What this means that for example, in European Security and Defense College, we have in this moment 100 and almost 70, so 168 partners and associated network partners, meaning that we have quite a really good number. Also, this number, it's not only related with the cyber aspects, it's related with security and defense. So we are, let's say, covering different and many areas. But one of the main important areas, it's cyber education, in fact. Yeah, in a few, in fact, already we have 2 years of this new normal, or this new situation, and yeah, we adapted. Everyone, in fact, every university, every institution, every government, every even company succeeded to adapt and to manage having all the, or not all, but most of the employees, most of the trainees, most of their students, most of their partners to work from home or work from wherever they can. So in a few, let's say, in a few moments, in a few weeks, we need to adapt and to switch from residential, so staying everyone together, in this new normal, staying everyone together in a Zoom meeting room, in a WebEx, in a whatever you can imagine. Yeah, but also this, let's say, these meeting rooms, or this new normal rooms, new areas, came with some other new challenges. One of, for example, one of these new challenges, it's the online training. Yeah, because of course we need people. We need people to do our job. We need people to run our program, to run our business, to run our whatever. And what do we need here? So we need, these people need to be trained for a specific place to cover some areas, to cover some specific attributions, to cover some specific tasks they need. Of course, they need a training. Before, it was quite simple. Everyone was in the same room. Someone was on the table or on such similar on a flipboard or something, or a smart table, whatever. And now everyone, it's in the backside of the laptop in his own, let's say, environment. I can change to another environment. I can go to my garden. I can go to everywhere. But it's easy. It's easy to say. It's easier to be like this. But how it's about? How about this increased mobility? And not only mobility, this increased, let's say, interaction. So from this point, already some universities, some companies, even some governmental sectors switched really, really fast to this new normal, but some of them are not quite like this, and you cannot run I don't know, a police operation or an army or whatever operation. You cannot run it offline or sorry, online. You need to be, in our terms, offline. You need to be on the site. So there are some challenges. Most of the programs, most of the trainings in this moment, they switched to online, but also the activities are offline. Part of the programs are still offline or residential, as we say, because they are classified. You cannot run or okay, not classified, let's say sensitive. It's much more easier to say like this. And yeah, you need to have, so let's say this new challenge, this new normal. This new normal, in fact, it's a hybrid. It's a hybrid program, hybrid training, hybrid activity. Hybrid means I have part online, part residential. But not only in the trainees side, also in the speaker side. Yeah, by the way, I had we had a course last year, and it was really strange to have a full training room filled with people and no speaker. It was really amazing. But also we had the same. I had a training program. In 2 days, I had only one speaker on site and 10 speakers online. And it's quite strange to see people in the room looking at the screen, and the speakers online. That this, it's the new normal. This, in fact, it's something new, and we need to understand and adapt. Right, there are a lot of challenges here. The people attention, the people focus. It's could be really easy switch to completely something else, to their phone, to their emails, to their whatever, because of course the speaker is not there or the participant is not in the room. Right. As we can as we observed, as I suppose that here Mr. Gabriel, and not only him, most of the let's say partners, teachers, professors from universities saw that the quality of the not the quality of the training, in fact the quality of the information received by the students decreased, and it was less than before, because we lost the interaction between the teacher or the speaker and the participant. But yeah, this is the new normal. We need to adapt. We need to go further. Of course, we have apps. downs, ups, downs, but in a way, as any, from physics, if we have an impulse, we have an up, after that it's a down, and after that we will go on the line. So we will stick to the line. Now it was an up, it was a down, and now we will go. So probably in the next year, if we will continue, and as a perspective, I can say that let's say that yeah, at least this year will be almost in the same way. We said in the past, okay, everything will happen, will be like this up to summer, up to winter, up to next summer, up to next spring, but no, most probably this year will be the same. So everything will be run in the same way. As
if I may, I have a question, because
please.
You pointed out something very interesting, which I'm really keen on your opinion. You said that, of course, students are having less qualitative information, let's say, but at the same time, looking at the bigger picture, the fact that more people were somehow open or forced to go online, the target didn't increase. So if we look a little bit at the bigger picture, we'll say, okay, we have indeed less qualitative information, but reaching more people. So maybe, I don't know, maybe or not, this is what I'm looking for, your answer. The overall effect is somehow a little bit higher than previously, when we were stick to some classes, you had like, I don't know, 15, 20 people, and okay, very good people, but if it's not a trainer class, that those people will go further to others. I don't know if sometimes it's not good to increase the level of awareness, which I think is one of the big issues right now. I think now we don't really miss specialists, but we are missing a lot of awareness on everyone. So I don't know, how do you see this balance between the two?
Yeah, thanks. You just raised the ball. Thank you. Thanks for this. Just to go straight to the question. So even we have, so in these times, it's easy to reach really good speakers, really good teachers, really good specialists to come back with their knowledge. So it's true. The information transmitted by the speakers, by the teachers, is really good, but let's say the trainees, the students, are really distracted, and their focus, it's not on the screen. Their focus is not on the information transmitted. They just lose. So if, for example, let's say Gabi or you will have a class for 15 minutes. I will receive a call for 5 minutes, and I will answer that call, because of course I'm online. I need to be in two places in the same time, in my office, in the classroom, and I will lose exactly the point you wanted to transmit, one of you. It doesn't matter which one. And yeah, I have a student there. It's okay. He was in the class. I cannot deny it. He was from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, but he lost the point. I lost him. And even he will have the camera switched on. It doesn't matter. I can say that we are facing and see this, let's say, this side effect, in fact, of these online trainings. Yeah, it's good because we have a really good participation in matter of speakers, and also the information you said before, it's spread to many other people you can. In the past, I had a class of 15. Now I can raise the class to 60, 80, no problem with that. But in 80% of the cases, as I saw and as we saw, because we are dealing with trainings, the percentage, it's almost the same. So even I have 80 in the class, I will have the same 15 or 20 maximum who were really focused on the information transmitted. Right, it's good because on one way it's really good because I have one from I don't know from Singapore, one from Korea, one from the United States, one from Colombia, one from and 10 from I don't know. So the information it's spread really well, but I do not have the so if I have, for example, a focus on strategic level class in EU or in EU institutions, these high level participants will be easily distracted or slightly change their focus on their usually or daily jobs, because they will receive an urgent email, they will receive an urgent call. And we noticed these things that so as you increase the level, so you go to policy level, strategic level, you lose the participants. And because they are really involved in different other activities. Right. It's let's say we need to adapt. We need to get them involved. We need to create some interaction or more interaction than even like now. I'm just speaking. I have just speaking in the front of my computer in front of the camera. I have no idea who's behind, why, what is he doing. Okay, in a way it's the new normal. We need to face, and we need to also to transmit the best information we can. Otherwise we will be lost, and next time when I will be invited, nobody will listen, they will switch off, they will move to their coffee or something. So we need to be focused, we need to transmit the pill, and that's it. So in the new normal, I think the classes or the trainings should be really short, 10, 15, 20, maximum half an hour, and combined with a lot of interaction from the participants. I hope that at least partially I answered to your question. And now I just, please.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, thank you, Dan. And now partially I raised, so I created a hook to the next point I wanted to tackle, the interaction between participants and the interaction between speakers and participants. It's the most important thing we need to care about. And here, each speaker, each each manager who organize, or each company, each partner who organized a specific training, he sticked with what he knows, and he's creating its interaction with the between the speakers and the class in his own way, or with the tools he's used to use, or to he likes. Let's say it's best like this. And yeah, if I will participate now in a training, I will use, I don't know, whatever interaction tool you want. In the next hour, I will have another tool. In the next, so I'm speaking from the point of view of both participants and speakers. If I will be a speaker, I will need to be sticked on the organizational on the organizational side. So they will use each interaction software you can imagine, and I need to know more and more. So as a speaker, I need to know how to use a specific software. As a participant, I need to know how to use the same specific software. And if each one of you, you'll move from, so in 3 or 4 different conferences, classes today, you'll see that there are 4 different platforms, 4 different software, 4 different challenges, 4 different spatial spatial rights to give from your computer to a specific platform. And step by step, my computer will be a mess. Why? Because I granted already to 12 or 14 platforms a lot of rights. I granted, I leave everything open just to be able to connect and stay on a specific training or on a specific class or conference. And okay, this could be easy to be managed from a specialist point of view, but from a non-specialist point of view, it's a mess. Think about, I don't know, some kind of Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He's not used to have, so he don't have no idea about technology. He has no idea about what is happening inside this laptop. He has no idea what is happening there. And okay, I need to connect. So his mindset is, yeah, I need to transmit this information. I need to be connected in that specific meeting, and he accepts everything. Give all the rights, accept. It's easy, but on the next meeting will be the same. And suddenly you'll see that your phone, your computer, your laptop, your desktop, your system will start, let's say, speaking. We don't know who. And this is a challenge. This is one of the challenges, let's say, reported. And as you saw, for example, from the beginning, Zoom was not accepted in many public institutions because of the security problems. After that came Google Meet with the same problems. After that, WebEx had some exploits. So the hackers also understood that these are the new challenges, these are the new problems, these are the new in fact, this is the new field of operations, and they need to adapt, and also our security teams need to adapt and understand what is happening there, and close as many channels as they can. And after that, I think Radu, someone will call you. Oh, I cannot connect to, I don't know, Zoom. I cannot connect to, please do something. And it's someone in the highest hierarchy, and you need to help him. You need to give him the rights. And from there, you create a hole. You, wherever, whatever. And this is a challenge. A challenge because everything is moving really, really fast. Everything is moving on unknown platforms. Each platform, if you can see, there is a new update each, I don't know, one month or monthly update, something. There is a new update, there is a security update, there are problems, a lot of problems. And some training institutions try to do something else. Okay, let's do not use this online cloud tools. Let's have our own tools, our own platform. It's easier. It's really easy to maintain it. It's really easy to update it. It's really easy to control it. But it's good. For example, Ilias, Canvas, Gabi, you can, so there are so many Moodle, so there are tens of e-learning platform used by universities, by training actors, by even by companies to deliver their trainings. Yeah, from their perspective, it's really to manage their, let's say, little ball. They will have every control there. So it's a step forward, but they will understand from that point and further that the others need to understand which are the challenges to connect, which are the settings, which are the security problems, and which are the not problems, the security request to connect to a specific platform. And you will see that the Ministry of whatever defense from whatever country will not be able to connect to your platform, to your e-learning platform, because they are not allowed to connect the microphone. They are not allowed to let's say to open a web streaming, a live streaming, video streaming, or audio streaming. They are closed. What are you doing then? You force, in a way, the participants to move on their specific or on their personal devices, right? But is it good or not? So now it's another door open. One is closed, okay, from the organizational point of view, but there is now another door open. Now the target, it's the user, the normal user. And the user will have as many doors as possible open. And he will be now the next, let's say, attack surface. Yeah, these are, so in terms of cybersecurity, these are the challenges. The organization, so most of the organizations succeeded in a way to compact and to establish some kind of platform, some kind of security requests, and some to create a secure medium for their trainings. But now, let's say the whole responsibility, it's moved to the participants. No matter the participant in a platform, it's a speaker or a participant, a normal participant, a normal trainee. So everything now it's moved to in their side. And now it comes the next question. If one of the speakers, it's, I don't know, the Ministry of Defense from whatever country, Ursula von der Leyen, Biden, whatever, who is more important or less important? So here there is the next challenge. In fact, each organization, each platform, each institution, each human being, it's best to say like this, no matter if it is a speaker or a trainee, need to understand and need to receive, and in his, let's say, to receive an awareness training. So this is the new, let's say, the new, another new open area. So awareness training for online awareness training. It's something amazing. It's something huge, but it is because I can say that around 60-70% of the participants know about the challenges, knows about the problems or the security, because they work in some areas or security areas, but more than 70-80% of the speakers or the trainers are more vulnerable than the participants. Because of this. First, even he's one of the best specialists, he needs to be connected in 25 or 30 platforms, different platforms. And his device or whatever, come on, you cannot have 25 devices, 25 laptops or 25 phones, each one for a specific platform. No, it's a no-go. Even now we are moving with 2 laptops and 3 phones each day. To have another one or another laptop or another phone with us, it's really, really complicated. And yeah, this is the new challenge. And let's say the big picture and the big attack surface, and we need to be aware of this. What I would like to say more about this specific challenges is now the funding and the supporting of these programs. So now, from the economical point of view, so now I switched a little bit from the cybersecurity. So I just put an image on the screen, and now I will move to the other point, to the funding and the supporting any online training. Yeah, we can understand now that the quality, so the quality of the speakers increased, and the quality of the information transmitted is increased. Why? Because now the speakers are not mandated to travel, and we can, let's say, pay a little bit more a good speaker to deliver something in our 15 minutes or 20 minutes training, and the participants, the same, are not mandated to travel in a specific place to meet together. And the let's say the allocated budget, it could be slightly moved to reimburse the speakers and to be invested in the security of the platform. So now this is the let's say the new spread of the budget. So normally, if you need to pay 2,000 euro, for example, for a speaker to come from Singapore to Constanta to Brussels, now you will pay him only with 1,000. It's not just only for his delivery and his speech. So it's a really good deal for you, but also that 1,000 left, you need to invest in your security hardware and software security program in the backside. So I just tried to put some elements on the screen. Probably they are not really well connected, but these are the facts, and these are the things we are facing right now and we are seeing in this moment. Probably next year or in the next 6 months, we'll have a better image of this.
Actually, listening at what you said, it reminds me of an old problem which is now again put on the table.
So it's not old, it's new again.
Yeah, it's not, it's renew, or I don't know, I don't want to speak renew, sorry, that's the wrong term to speak about. It's an old problem which came back, and I see that more or less we can say that we do not learn from our own mistakes, because you're speaking about different platforms having different issues or benefits, because they have also their own benefits, each of them. And I was reading an article, I think yesterday, about the fact that European Union tries again to standardize the plug, the chargers for the phones. It is pretty much the same thing in bigger pictures. Okay, you don't need so many types of which are doing basically the same thing in the end, more or less 80%, 90%. It's okay. Some have better speed, some have better, connection or benefits like MagSafe or some safeguarding your device in the end. But somehow, if you abstractize the whole thing, it's just, why to have so many things for one thing, which can, on the other hand, it's a matter of the state or the governmental institution to enter over the private sector and to impose them some rules, which is not quite democratic, let's say, or capitalistic way of seeing things.
You are completely right here. Right.
And you remember also, again, the same thing that you were saying. Second, this was the first idea. The second was that, how many issues we have with so-called free charging devices in airports and stuff like that, which in fact they are getting a lot of information from your device while charging. So the same is also with this sharing, the screen sharing, meeting platforms. I remember in the beginning you were saying about Zoom was not really well received in different governmental institutions, and there were some actual facts at that moment that some traffic from Zoom was routed through some other countries than the one involved. So in the meeting. So it's definitely something which is a hot topic.
I suppose, for example, even the awareness of the participants in a meeting, in a really high sensitive meetings. I think you remember, last year when a journalist just stepped in a meeting of Mr. Borrell together with all Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Defense over you. So he was just these platforms are not safe for sure. So no, are not safe for transmitting confidential and classified information for a training, but we need to be aware what kind of training it is. Yeah, they are safe. And one second, because I can see that my time is almost end. You just raised another ball, and thanks for this. Most of these problems, most of these, let's say, challenges, now they're only put on the table. I just put on the table and on the screen. And thank you for this reminding me, Radu. And these ones, I would like to. Or we would like, in fact, to tackle and discuss in the summer school and in the conference we will organize together with the Constanta Maritime University in summer in Constanta in Romania. Then we'll have some tracks on the summer school, and we will have some hands-on, some really not really deep, but at least we'll have some specialists. We'll try to organize it on site. I truly hope, and with the speakers as much as possible on site, but also we need to adopt. This hybrid format in that moment. And here, thanks, Gabriel, for your involvement and full support of this. If there are any questions, any other thoughts, please feel free. There are still maximum 5 minutes for this. If no, Radu, it's over to you.
So
thank you.
So I want to launch a question, or at least the subject of discussion. What should be done to make cybersecurity education go from ordinary presence to a form of ubiquity at all levels of age and education? I know it's a tough question, but it is interesting to discuss about it, because it's very interesting what will be our predictions, our orientation here in this area. Please, Orazio.
Yeah, indeed, it's real. I don't have a full answer for this. I don't have a full answer. But yeah, first, I think we need to go back at Radu said before. We need something standard. We need to go in the, or at least work to standardize some aspects, some platform, some, and to invest a little bit more in some platforms, and let's say certify them, because now we will speak about a new certification center and the Cybersecurity and Certification Center in Romania. And I think this will be a really good step forward for this, and creating in a way a good environment. It's or let's say a more secure environment. The speakers and the participants will be more keen and more tempted to participate and interact. I think I hope that I answered a little bit. And I can see there is another question from Mr. Eugen. What about EU secure network like NATO's BICES? Yeah, so there is no problem. There is but how much it costs? Will you afford as a normal participant, as a normal guy from each yeah, you are working from home, you own, I don't know, you earn 2,000 euro per month or less or more. Will you have enough money to afford an encryption router and the software? Will you afford? I don't think so. Yeah, I mentioned about the Ministry of Defense, but there are specifically, they have their own communication network, and that networks costs a lot. Security, so to implement EU secret, NATO secret network in an endpoint, one endpoint costs at least 30 to 40K. Will you afford this amount of money? And you will need to upgrade it and pay for some services, pay for, so, okay, increase security, it's a lot of money. But will you afford this? You need to understand. So you need to let's say evaluate the information. So we will go back now to risk assessment, and this is another topic we will discuss probably in another meeting. The information you might lose, how much and in which way will affect you as a company, as a government, as whatever. So here, yeah, there are some evaluations and you need to be aware of that. I hope that I answered a little bit to your question, Eugen.
Thank you very much, Horatiu. And Gabriela, what I wanted to comment a little bit on this thing, that's the academic part, which Horatiu replied very, very nicely and very well. What I'm looking at from another perspective, because yeah, unfortunately, I need to speak also from the more technical part, or more, not white, but even more gray, dark, whatever versions, is I think it's a problem related to the awareness. I was looking just during the weekend, don't ask why during the weekend, but whatever, the European Parliament social media had a campaign related to a little bit of cybersecurity awareness. I think this is one thing that should go really at nation level and European level, of course, to make aware the persons about what cybersecurity actually is. Where if you're speaking to smaller cities in Romania, for example, they almost maybe never heard of cybersecurity attacks or cybercrime or fine crime or all these things. I remember 4 years ago, I was in Singapore and they were having 5-6 TV ads speaking about different types of cyber attack, and they were created by the government, by the Ministry of Communication and Cybersecurity, and they were throughout, I don't know, the advertising time of television, they were advertising these things. Look, there are actual facts. You need to protect like that. You need to call like that. I mean, really, here it's at least I'm happy that in the last 2-3 years, maybe the number of news related to cybersecurity issues in Romania start increasing. This is one thing. The other thing which I see that as a problem, of course, this is a debatable thing, how it should be implemented, but the not buying in, as Horatiu said, not buying in beginning of the career path professionals or soon to be professional in cybersecurity by enabling bug bounties programs, especially on institutional level, and then also in the mental of the big companies to say, look, if you find a vulnerability and you disclose it responsibly to the entities which should be informed about that, and instead you say, no, it's forbidden, you'll go to jail for that, that's not a way to secure the environment. And that's not a way to buy in people to say, look, I reported that vulnerability, I will get a free training from Horatiu. You see, I mean, this is something which needs to happen. Now here, no. You get caught trying some things because you want to learn and you want to get more advanced in your career, you're getting a trial and you're getting to jail or whatever, not getting to jail, but that's the idea. And this is the wrong approach. I'm looking, US did this a few years ago, and you can definitely see an increase. Still, they have big issues, but there is an increase of their problems. So I think European level or national level programs for the bug bounty will buy in some students, and those students won't attend the trainings just because their manager said so or someone paid for that training, but they will go to the trainings because they want to find out more. All right, hope I did not intervene very much time on Ronan's time frame. Ronan, I'm so looking forward to hear your point of view on this field. And yeah, I have a couple of questions, but I first want to get a little bit of insight.
Already?
Yeah, no, because it's a field that I'm looking at for quite some time. Actually, since I met Gabriel, to be honest, I was not really thinking that direction at the moment, but then it became more and more interesting. And yeah, logistics is one of the supply chain attacks now that are really, really fancy and really sexy for everybody. Absolutely. And yeah, business email compromising and all that, it's a hot topic. So you have the floor.
Thank you for inviting me today. We are Cyberstar. Cyberstar is a subsidiary of Zim and Confidas. I will make a very short introduction, and then I will address the main topic, which is cybersecurity for the maritime and logistics sector. And I will touch quite a lot of aspects, and mainly from the aspect of the leaders of shipping and logistics companies and how they perceive the threat and the risk, because we are meeting quite a lot of them during the last year. So Zim is the Israeli ocean carrier. It's a global company. It is operating well over 100. I need to keep updating the number all the time. Well over 100 vessels worldwide, several thousands of employees, and it is servicing hundreds of ports. Specifically in the Trans-Pacific, Zim is one of the leading players in that trade. Confidas is an Israeli cybersecurity company. I think that they are the largest in Israel in terms of working with large international corporates and helping them to better prepare for cyber attacks. And they are also the one who handled some of the most severe cyber incidents that took place in Israel. And together, the two companies formed Cyberstar since they identified that there is a gap in capabilities and knowledge, and mainly in the preparation of companies in the sector to face cyber threats. So Cyberstar is offering a full suite of cybersecurity services, and our mission is to enhance the cyber resiliency of companies in the sector. We are about 15 people at the moment. I am the CEO. I've been working in the shipping and logistics industry for over 20 years. I was the chief of staff for the global operations for ZIM. So I had the opportunity to spend a lot of my time on vessels and in terminals. Ram and Eli are cybersecurity experts. Ram was the former secretary of the Israeli prime minister for the Israeli cyber initiative or task force, which later became the Israeli CERT. So we are offering a very unique combination of both industry expertise and cybersecurity expertise. So the cyber threat reality. As you all know, many leaders in the last several years have been saying again and again that cybercrime is becoming the greatest problem or threat to every company or organization also worldwide. It so happens that the estimated damages from cybercrime in 2021, last year, are estimated at $6 trillion, and they're going to reach, according to estimation, 10 or over $10 trillion in 2025. The reason I mention it is that ironically, it's the estimated spend on logistics, maritime and logistics. So in 2025, if we continue on the same pace, the cybercrime industry will become in less than 10 years larger than the shipping, the maritime, and the logistics industry, which is absolutely amazing. I think that less than 2 weeks ago, Allianz released the risk barometer for 2022. And in spite of the COVID, and in spite of the supply chain disruptions, cyber incidents were ranked as the #1 threat or risk to companies worldwide. It is also interesting when I looked at the report and it was broken to sectors, to see that the marine and shipping sector actually was the only one who didn't rank cyber at the #1 or #2. It was ranked as #4, which also suggests that it is still lagging after other sectors and it is underestimating the cyber risk. We will discuss some of that in a minute. So when we are saying maritime or logistics, especially when we are saying maritime, we immediately think about shipping and about vessels, but there is so much more to the supply chain and to the maritime. You cannot, move a container from A to B using vessels only. You need to understand that there is a very big ecosystem of various types of companies that are involved. So from our perspective, at least, we consider 3 basic pillars of the industry, which are the shipping companies that transport the goods from A to B, the terminals that are the gateway for these goods, and the logistics companies around the world that are the manager or the orchestrator of the entire process. And each one of them is interfacing and is integrating with many other service providers and business partners that without them, they cannot function. Just to give an example, the shipping companies are relying on cargo booking platforms They are working very heavily with third-party agencies. They are working with thousands of container depots worldwide. And if they cannot interface with them due to a cyber incident, then you have a serious problem. And the other way around, if there is a cyber attack on an international booking platform, immediately the maritime supply chain will be affected. Just to give you the idea of how complex it is, it takes on average about 50 data exchanges to move between business partners to move a container from origin to destination. So here are just a few headlines from the late part of 2021. There is definitely a focus of the cybercrime on the industry of supply chain, logistics, and maritime. According to various threat intelligence companies, there is a lot of noise on the dark web and a lot of attempts to sell credentials and for maritime and naval and terminals, ports, and logistics companies, and there is a good reason for that. It was not used to be the case. The industry was less prone to cyber attacks until the recent years, but it all changed in the 2017. And of course, it escalated very quickly in the recent couple of years. You know, we cannot talk about maritime cybersecurity without mentioning the famous Maersk incident in 2017, although it was not a maritime cybersecurity incident per se. It was just a collateral damage for a nation-state attack that went out of control and damaged a lot of companies around the world. Maersk was between them. The important takeaway from this incident was that Maersk was and is always considered to be the flagship of the industry and the benchmark of the industry. And when the entire industry was astonished to see an empire like Maersk being brought to its knees within hours. And you know, I don't know how many of you know the real story, but there was a lot of pure luck also in the story that Maersk managed to recover. It made a lot of people think and understand that they need to do something about it. So from 2017, you start to see much more thought, resources, and investments into cybersecurity by maritime companies versus before. But as we all know, it is never guaranteeing 100% immunity, and we have been witnessing many recurrent attacks on the sector. I think 7 or 8 largest commercial lines were attacked already. The most severe attack was the CMA attack late 2019. And I can tell you that it took them a lot of time to recover fully. It took them many months to recover fully from that incident. It's not only commercial liners that are being attacked, there are also other sectors of shipping. These are, by the way, only a few examples from 2021. The Swire from Singapore, which is providing marine services, was attacked. We all know that the tankers are being cyber attacked in the Gulf. There was a very significant attack on Greek shipping companies using the Danaos software several months ago, and it caused them a severe blackout and loss of communication with the vessels. The first ever cyber attack on TAG, and TAG company was spotted earlier this year by the US Coast Guard. And of course, also the passenger sector is suffering. Carnival Cruise was hit 4 times in 1 year by severe cyber incidents. The logistics sector is suffering even more. It is less, maybe it is less sexy, like Radu mentioned, so it is less in the news. And I think that 90% at least of the cyber attacks on the logistics sector do not get published or reported. One of the most famous attacks was the toll. Actually, that was attacked twice in 2020 and took a very severe business shortfall as a result. And here are just a few examples from the recent year. The attack on Gefco, on Hillerbrand, which is a very big European brand. ECU Worldwide is maybe the largest Indian freight forwarder today, and it was attacked several months ago. And I think it was just a few weeks ago, in the middle of December, there was a major ransomware attack on Hellman, a very large international logistics company from Germany. And they are now, at the beginning, they said that they don't think that any information was breached or leaked, and now they are warning of scam calls and mails. And if you look to the left, you can see that not only the information was leaked, it is now being published. So you can see an example of their credential, the credential of Hellman to log into various business partners and systems. And it is a very problematic issue. Radu, you mentioned the supply chain attack via the supply chain. Ports are also part of this trend as well. We see increasing cyber attacks on ports, although it's being less attacked than shipping companies and logistics, at least so far. In 2021, I'm sure you are aware of the attempted cyber attack, which was a suspected nation-state attack on the port of Houston, and they were able to detect and mitigate the attack. However, around July or August, there was a huge ransomware attack on the Transnet cluster of 4 terminals in South Africa. These are major terminals. It's a cluster which is handling 6 million TEUs a year. And the terminals were completely crippled for more or less 10 days. And they had to, it was the first time that the terminal, which is undergoing a cyber attack, had to declare a force majeure. And it took them also several weeks to fully recover. Also, Israel, which is considered the cybersecurity powerhouse, you know, it reminded me of the story of the shoemaker, which is walking around barefoot. So the Israel supply chain was targeted by a nation state early in 2021. A company called Amital that provides software for logistics companies was breached. Through the breach, the attacker managed to infiltrate to about 40 logistics companies here in Israel, and there was a very severe data leakage of very sensitive information. Let's talk a little bit about the challenges, the concerns, and the perception by companies in the sector. So first of all, why is the sector becoming so interesting for the cyber criminals? It used to be a sector with relatively thin margins, if at all, until 2 years ago. And since the COVID and the supply chain crunch, the Maritime is producing $150 billion in net profits in 2021. And it is forecasted to produce $200 billion in 2022. And these types of dollar amounts are certainly attracting the cyber criminals versus before. Also, the sector is currently going through, I would say, even I call it a revolution of digitalization and automation of its business processes and of its interfaces between the business partners. There is a lot of high-tech, of technology, going, a lot of startups going into the sector, they suddenly discovered the maritime and the logistics sector. And there is also a lot of pressure by the leaders in the sector to become more efficient, more automated, more digital, which also creates a pressure on the IT guys to converge systems. IT, OT, and IoT are becoming converged, which is a very big headache for the cybersecurity people. And it creates new attack surfaces on a daily basis. On the other hand, as you saw, it's a very complex and fragmented sector with very high interdependency. For example, all the ocean carriers are arranged in 3 alliances. So I can have, as ZIM, I can have an amazing cybersecurity posture. But if my boxes are on MSC, Maersk, or any other liner because I'm in an alliance with them, and then they don't have the proper cybersecurity posture, it creates a headache and a very big challenge also for me. And of course, the industry at the moment is stretched to the limit, which cyber criminals utilize because they understand that when you are under pressure, you are more prone to pay the ransom very quickly and try to be done with it, recover as much as fast as possible, and go back to business. Why is the maritime and logistics lagging on cybersecurity? First of all, it is, or it used to be, a very traditional and conservative sector. It was always, in terms of technology, about 10 years behind other sectors. When everyone adopted the ERP system 25, 30 years ago, it went into the maritime sector, let's say about 15 years ago. So it was always a follower in terms of adopting technology. In addition, the sector is not a premium sector like finance, for example. It is always working on tight margins, at least, like I said, until a couple of years ago. And cybersecurity is an expensive business that requires investments. Also, it's a B2B industry. It's not a B2C, like finance, like retail, like education. So B2B is naturally a little bit less sensitive to cybersecurity, and there is less also lack of regulation as a result. By far, a key issue is the lower management attention and awareness, and I think it was also mentioned in the previous discussion. Many leaders of maritime logistics companies are underestimating the risk and are not giving enough attention. Actually, when it is interesting to see that when CEOs and leaders from other sectors are becoming leaders of maritime and logistics companies, they bring this new attention and awareness and willingness to invest in cybersecurity that wasn't there before. So as a result, there is usually lack of strategy, resources, budgets, and of course, limited sector knowledge by the cyber consultants and the solution providers. What are the challenges or cybersecurity challenges for a shipping company? How do they look at it? So first of all, they have the vessel operation. Every shipping company operates a fleet, which is comprised of dozens to hundreds of vessels. Each vessel is like a plant, a separate IT environment of its own with its own vulnerabilities. And let's not forget that every ocean carrier is also chartering vessels. So there is a considerable part of vessels that are being operated by a third party, and it is very difficult to control it. Then you have the shore operation. You usually have a head office somewhere, and then you have hundreds of offices worldwide that you need to control, to train, to create awareness, and to bring everybody on board. And also a significant part of those offices would be actually third-party agencies that they have their own IT systems and cybersecurity standards. as we said, you are as a maritime company, you are highly dependent on a lot of business partners. Each company has thousands, sometimes even thousands of partners, and information exchange, EDI exchanges that you need to protect and to maintain in order to be able to operate. And one of the things that we saw from previous cases is that once you find yourself in a severe incident, you get cut out immediately. Nobody wants to open your mail. Nobody wants to interchange EDIs with you. You are completely shut out of the system until you can show that you have recovered. And this is a very swift punishment, okay, by the industry. And I mentioned the high dependency on your alliance partners. Yeah, this is a topic that can be discussed in a completely separate webinar of its own. The ongoing debate on the vessel cybersecurity risk. So I will touch it very briefly. So on the one hand, you have the cybersecurity experts and the various solutions providers that are working and struggling to prove that the vessels are vulnerable and that the risk is immediate and much more severe than everybody thinks. And on the other hand, you have the vessel operators and the mariners, where I can tell you that from many discussions that I'm having, there's still the prevailing state of mind, I would call it, is that the risk is not that imminent and they are very slow to adopt such solutions so far. Also, the fact that the cases, at least the cases that we know of, are quite rare. And that what are the implications? Let's assume you know that there is a cyber attack on a vessel. So I know that there are blogs about some hacker from halfway across the world taking charge of a vessel and steering it somewhere, but it's not that easy to accomplish. A vessel is not an airplane, okay? It cannot be taken down from the sky. The crew is usually very alert and trained. There are a lot of manual overrides. Not a lot, there are manual overrides for every possible system. If something goes wrong, it is usually spotted within minutes. And in minutes, you cannot do something usually you cannot do something serious to a large vessel. So this is more or less the mindset that currently prevails with operators and mariners, and there is very slow adoption of cybersecurity solutions for the vessels. With that said, the vessels that used to be very, very simple and stupid in terms of IT and technology up to about 8 or 10 years ago are now becoming much more digital. There is an extremely sharp increase in communication between shore and the vessels in the recent years. And obviously it creates much more risk and attack surfaces. And therefore there is also a mounting pressure both from regulation, from insurance companies, from law enforcement agencies, and also from internal standards. I mean, there are companies that even though the risk is perceived as not huge and the regulation is not that developed, because they have very high internal cybersecurity standards, have started to apply solutions to their vessels. So in the bottom line, as a shipping company, most of the leadership of the shipping companies and the IT leadership are considering their shore systems as much more important and much more vulnerable as a business than the vessel systems, and the investments and the protection and the budgets are there, okay? And if you think about it from their perspective, if you cyber attack a vessel, and let's assume that you bring it to some sort of a standstill, and you lose several days of vessel, absolutely it's a damage. But if you manage to take down the cargo booking system of a company, and this booking system is producing dozens of millions of dollars of booking on a daily basis, it's a much, much bigger damage than a cyber attack on a vessel. So in terms of risk tolerance, in terms of statistics, I mean, statistics clearly show that most of the attacks are on the IT and not on the vessel. And also in terms of the IT knowledge, most of the IT people understand IT systems and not vessel systems. Most of the attention is on the shore systems. Talking about ports, ports is a different beast. It is a local entity. It is a gateway. It is like a sort of a manufacturing plant with machinery, but with a lot of moving parts and a lot of interactions with different stakeholders that are coming in and out of it all the time and are connecting in what is called the port community system. Here there is even a bigger challenge in terms of conversion between or integration between IT, OT, and also a lot of IoT, which is now becoming a very integral part of every port operation. And the last point is that most of the ports are national gateways, so they are considered critical infrastructure, which is also an additional challenge for the port leaders. According to the European Cybersecurity Agency, the key threat scenarios for ports are obviously shutdown, partly or total shutdown of the port operation due to a cyber attack or ransomware attack, and compromising of port community system for data manipulation, data theft, illegal trafficking of cargo, and of course, compromising cargo handling equipment and causing physical damages. In the terminals that we are working with or that we speak to, we see a picture which is somewhat reminding me of the picture that we see in the shipping companies. The leadership of the terminal and the leadership of the terminal as IT are mostly focused on the IT systems, the EDI, the gate system, the GOS, the terminal operation system, the TOS, and they are less concerned, at least so far, on the protecting the cargo handling equipment. Again, I guess it is driven from the statistics, which show that most of the attacks so far were on the IT systems, and also based on their knowledge. There seems to be at least a significant knowledge gap when it comes to OT cybersecurity versus IT cybersecurity. So with great connectivity or with greater connectivity comes a greater risk. What is being done about it? First of all, in terms of the regulation, as you can probably understand from the picture I put, it is relatively marginal. We have the IMO resolution from 2017, which became mandatory in 2021, but it is only pertaining vessels or predominantly pertaining vessel protection. It is quite generic in nature, and it is very forgiving. For example, if an enforcer is catching a vessel which is not complying, the vessel operator has 90 days to fix, which is quite forgiving as opposed to regulation, for example, of safety, let's say of fire safety, where the enforcer can immediately arrest the vessel. So still very forgiving in terms of cybersecurity. The International Association of Ports and Harbors recently produced cybersecurity guidelines for ports. The IMO is currently considering whether to convert it into a mandatory regulation. And there is also national level regulators that impose cybersecurity guidelines, but it's mostly for the ports. I mean, most of the ports in the world today are directed by the local authorities when it comes to cybersecurity. There is much more that we can discuss about it. We have a blog about it in our website that you're invited to review. The key takeaway from that blog is that when there is little resolution, when there is little regulation, the companies that are cybersecurity mature need to come into the picture and enforce and lead with cybersecurity standards. In Zim, for example, I can tell you that the company has started in recent years to introduce cybersecurity language in the contracts that it is formulating with its business partners that have to do both with the standards that they need to maintain and also with certain understandings regarding mutual work in the event of a cyber incident. So, unfortunately, what we see in many maritime logistics companies that we interact with are relatively low or less mature cybersecurity posture, even with everything that is happening around us. It always starts from the top, like everything. It starts from low prioritization by the senior management. And I can tell you that there is also a gap between what sometimes the leaders are declaring and what they are later doing in practice. In many companies, there are currently no structured discussions by executive teams on cybersecurity, no committees, either at the board level or the management cybersecurity committees. There is, I don't want to say severe, but for sure there is underestimation of the cyber, of what it means to handle a cyber crisis implication. Many managers that we're speaking with think that, okay, so it's like an IT malfunction, in 48 hours we'll be back online. They don't understand how chaotic and complicated cyber crisis is. We don't see a clear strategy or roadmap for the cybersecurity of the company. Usually it is considered the IT job, and the IT team is also responsible for cybersecurity. There is no dedicated task force for cybersecurity. There are no CISOs in many of the companies. And of course, we don't see too many companies with incident response plans, not to mention testing and rehearsing them. If we put it on a scheme, then we look at cybersecurity, we look at three pillars. We look at the protection stage, where you are trying to make sure that nobody will infiltrate your business. We're looking at the monitoring, where an attacker has already penetrated and you need to identify it. And we're looking at the readiness or response once you realize that you have a cyber incident. So, as you can see, like in the graph, every company is doing something regarding protection. Some are doing a lot and some are doing the minimum, but usually you find something along the lines of what protection needs to be in most of the companies. Much less companies are investing or are aware about the importance of investing in the issue of monitoring. And from then it gets worse. Most of the companies today, according to some statistics, at least 80% of the maritime logistics companies don't have any plans how to respond in the case of a cyber incident. And this is bad, because in a statistics that was published by Mandiant, the consulting arm of FireEye's benchmark in the cybersecurity ecosystem, it was found that alarmingly, over 50% of the cyber attacks manage to infiltrate both the protection and the detection systems today, which means that readiness must be part of must receive more awareness and more investments and more attention by the maritime and the logistics leaders, not only protection. What does that mean? So the most important aspect for a maritime logistics business in the context of a cyber attack is the business continuity. Sure, a data breach is important, reputation is important, the ransomware is important, but I guarantee you that if you ask or survey the leaders of such companies, they will tell you the first thing on their mind is how to continue to operate and to provide customer service. What they sometimes don't understand is that severe attacks can last 7 to 10 days at least without their core systems. And this is an industry which I call it's in motion. The vessels are continuing to sail in the ocean. They don't stop because there is a cyber attack. The trackers are coming to pick up the cargo. Okay, the ports need to continue to operate. You cannot close the shop, go home, and come back after 2 weeks. It doesn't work. It's not a manufacturing plant. So you must have operational resiliency embedded in your cybersecurity program. And like I said, a punishment from the business partners and the customers is super quick. Not to mention how chaotic a cyber event can be. And this is something which is being underappreciated or severely underappreciated by many companies. They are under the impression that they can have a management meeting, discuss it, make some decisions, and everything will be okay. So absolutely not. And a cyber crisis for a maritime and the supply chain company requires 2 things. First of all, to develop crisis management capabilities that most of them don't have, and also to develop operational continuity capabilities. I will give a few examples from a shipping company in ports. For shipping, I will use Zim because I don't want to disclose information from other companies that we're working with. Just to give you an example, and actually it's not that challenging and difficult to achieve. The first thing that you need to do is to map your critical processes as a shipping company. For example, cargo booking, probably the most critical process for any shipping company. Then you need to, but there are others like schedule maintenance, connectivity with the vessels, connectivity with the terminal, procurement of bunker, and so on. Then you need to take each process, you need to break it down to components, but you need to do it in the context of a cyber crisis. What can happen to the process if I'm cyber attacked and I'm losing connectivity, I don't have mails, I don't have data interchange, I don't have the systems, maybe I don't even have the phone numbers. And then you need to develop, to use internal process experts to develop contingencies that usually involve IT development. And of course, test, rehearse, improve, and maintain them. So as an example, several years ago, Zim developed. It was based on Excel. I can tell you that now there is a much more advanced solution. You can see that even the toolbar, it says cyber booking. It's like a cyber readiness Excel tool that Zim developed for its offices worldwide to be able to keep booking. And it is not a simple Excel at all. It is connected to a lot of master data that the company is backing up to a dedicated cloud environment, which will enable it to keep working under a cyber incident. From the perspective of terminals, I can tell you that usually most of my discussions begin with the terminal team telling me, Ronen, if we have a severe cyber incident and we don't have any systems, not to mention the terminal operation systems, basically we are dead. We cannot work. We need to wait. After we start to discuss it, they realize that this is not a viable thing because first of all, you have the terminal which is in the middle of the operation. So you have vessels at berth, you have hundreds of trackers in the terminal, now locked in the terminal. You have trackers waiting, starting to queue at the gate. What do? You cannot tell everybody, I'm closing shop, right? So first of all, you need a plan to flush the terminal. Then you need to decide about a strategy. Do you actually stop everything until recovery? Do you try to operate a little bit, or do you try to operate to the maximum with some IT solutions like I just described to you now? After you decide on the strategy, and this is something that you need to do before you have a cyber attack, not during a cyber attack, and you understand the implications. For example, here you can see that Navis, it's the leading terminal operation system provider. They calculated for a US terminal that every minute of downtime is $5,600. So everything has a cost. So after you decide what is the best strategy, you decide on the key operational principles. I will, during a cyber attack, I will handle imports only, for example. I will handle only sensitive cargo, reefers and DG. I will stop my billing activity until the systems resume or not. There is a list of principles that you need to take. You define what are the implications and action items for each of the departments of the terminal. And then you need to work on your interfaces for crisis, cyber crisis with all the relevant stakeholders and define a communication plan. Then, of course, you need to test, rehearse, improve, and maintain. So we discussed about training also in the previous section. Training is absolutely the best way to achieve a better readiness. There is no other way, no other way. And it also obtains additional added values. First of all, it puts the company immediately in a better shape to face a cyber crisis than before. And it opens the eyes of the senior management to what it means really to be under a cyber incident, how to manage the terminal or the shipping company or the logistics company under attack. So it must be cross-organizational. It's not a training only for the IT. At least 70–80% of the people that are participating are usually from other parts of the company, because a cyber crisis is a cross-organizational crisis. It's an operational crisis. It's a customer service crisis. It's not only a technological crisis. So all the different aspects of the company need to be involved in it. And my key message from here today is that maritime and logistics companies need to shift the balance from being reactive, from investing only in protection and hiding behind it, to becoming proactive and invest more in cyber readiness, much more than before. Like maybe you saw in one of the quotes that I put in the presentation, you are not judged today any longer if you were breached. You are judged by the way you react or respond to the cyber incident. So that's it for me, and I hope I left a little bit of time for questions if there are any.
Very interesting presentation, everyone, and thank you very much. What I wanted to shed some light upon some small but relevant regulations that came up at the European level. At least it's okay. It's not at world level, but at least at the European level is the Nis Directive, which brings a lot of minimum requirements for the transportation and all the parties involved in this transportation. Okay, they do not mention logistics particularly, but they mention ports, they mention cargo, transportation. So there's a little bit of improvement there.
Yeah.
And also they force somehow to map that entire process and dependencies that you're speaking about. So somehow to push also maybe to external partners a certain level of security, because as you said, there are like 15 exchanges which can go wrong at any point in time. So that's one step ahead. I was really interested because you spoke about Merck's, which definitely probably is the most well-known attack that happened lately in this field. And putting this in parallel with Merck, which is very similar as wording, but it's from the pharmaceutical environment, which is also a very big industry, and that depends a lot on the logistic part. I don't know if you know that last week they managed to win the trial against the insurance company to have them reimbursed for the cyber attack. Is this some sort of first level common practice at the maritime environment, or they do not consider cyber attacks at all? Not that they go towards implementation of some measures or going towards the easy card out with the insurance of this thing on cyber attacks. I mean, not in general. Is there a trend in this, or it's not even that? It's completely, because insurance at their own level, of course, they say, okay, we insure you, but you need to have this in place at least, or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, regarding the first part of your comment, absolutely. Naturally, also the regulators are starting to catch up. As I said, the best, I would say, situation at the moment in terms of regulation is for the ports, because they're critical infrastructure in many cases. Then you have the shipping companies, but the logistics companies that are extremely important. Some of them are huge, and they are in charge of, for some countries, they can really impact the economy of the countries. There is almost no regulation in place for logistics companies when it comes to cybersecurity. They are free to do whatever they please and maintain any standards that they wish. Regarding the second part, there is a lot of interest by maritime and logistics companies in the issue of insurance. There are several problems with that. First of all, it is becoming ridiculously expensive. But these companies understand that when they are being hit with a cyber attack, the insurance company is going to be their only friend. Okay, they're the ones who are going to send the team and try to support them and help them, and possibly also help them with the issue of the ransom during an incident. So a lot of companies are already doing something about, in the maritime logistics sector, are already doing something, and if they are not doing or procuring insurance, they are definitely considering and checking the options to do it. Again, I think that one of the key barriers is the cost of the cyber insurance, which is also becoming much more expensive all the time. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, definitely. From my point of view, it makes sense to have a higher insurance cost, because if the company doesn't have anything in place to protect them, it's the higher risk. The risk is transferred to the insurance company, so they need to cover them somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, I was looking for any other questions from
the problem of telling me, you know what, the ransomware is going to be lower than what I pay to the insurance company. So
yeah, definitely. But it doesn't guarantee you that you're getting your operation up and running. You might just pay the ransomware and pay it again, and in the end you don't end up anywhere.
Absolutely, no argument here.
May I have a question, please?
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Moroz, for this very important and enriching presentation and lecture. I would like to know whether you saw shifts in cyber attacks on maritime sectors during the past 2 years of the COVID-19 era, which means we know that the COVID-19, the pandemic, affected even on when it comes to cybersecurity, with increase in thousands and in some cases tens of thousands of percent in cyber threats and cyber attacks. And I wonder whether we saw that increase and shift in the maritime sector as well. Thank you.
Yeah, so yes, absolutely. The maritime sector is no different. And as I said in the presentation, in the last 2 years, we see a very, very sharp increase on cyber threats and cyber attacks on the sector. And it derives from, as I said, from one hand, the sector is currently making a lot of money, like I said, more gain, more pain in the presentation, and that makes it much more attractive. And on the other end, it is going through a revolution of digitalization and automation, which is pressured by the customers and the leadership. But on the other hand, it is a little bit slow to pay the price tag, which is also to deploy the adequate cybersecurity solution in order to protect. So the result is very simple. You see a very, very sharp increase. There are a lot of cyber attacks. I can tell you also from personal knowledge that there are a lot of cyber attacks that are not being reported, a lot of cyber attacks on the sector that are being disguised as we have an IT malfunction, okay? We have a network problem, and then they solve it within a day or two. I will leave you to realize how they managed to do it so quickly. So there are a lot of cyber attacks that are being hidden also from the customers and the public. It is perceived as an embarrassment to the companies today. So one of the biggest challenges is the lack of information sharing between companies in the sector, which is sometimes what you see in other sectors, and that has not yet arrived to the maritime. The companies are not sharing information, sometimes not even with their own business partners, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, thank you for your answer, Ronen. And during these 2 years, you just mentioned that there is an increase. Do you think that it's connected directly to the COVID-19 era? Because, for example, we know that in the healthcare sector, the increase in cyber attacks are directly connected to the COVID-19 era. And I wonder whether the increase in cyber attack that you mentioned on maritime sector are as part of a general trend of increase in cyber attacks in maritime sector, especially, and in the whole sectors as well, or that those cyber attacks on the maritime sector is related directly to the COVID-19 era. I mean, can we make this specification?
I'm sure that some of it is related for sure, but also there is quite a lot that has to do, again, with the sector itself becoming more attractive per se, because it is making money, and more exposed because it is going digital. And I can also say that when it comes to maritime and shipping, and especially when ports are involved, the biggest threat actors are actually usually nation states, but not necessarily cyber criminals. But sometimes nation states hide themselves behind cyber criminals, as you know. But there were several significant attacks on shipping companies and ports that we know were done by nation state players and not not cyber criminals, which are the parties that are currently thriving under the COVID-19. So again, my answer would be yes, it's part of the general trend, but it also has it's sort of its own trend within the trend, if I manage to communicate my thought.
Thank you. Thank you.
Also, I have a very little request for comments here. Indeed, it was a very interesting and very comprehensive presentation. I want to invite you to make some comments or considerations about supply chain attacks, because big chains are very prone to supply chain attacks, like in last years.
Yeah. So first of all, you should not confuse between logistics supply chain and supply chain attacks, which is basically means that a company is being attacked from an interface that it has with a business partner. So the maritime and logistics is no different. And as I showed you, some of the incidents were supply chain attacks, specifically the one in Israel is a typical example. Like every other industry in the world, the concept of supply chain attacks and the fact that you need to be not only maintain a high cyber, your own high cyber posture, you also need to be concerned about the cyber posture of your counterparties is now starting to dawn on the maritime and logistics companies. It is coming up in many discussions that we have with them, and they are also looking for technological solutions and processes. I don't know to tell you if they are weaker in other sectors, because I think a lot of companies are weak or weaker when it comes to third-party risk management, but it's definitely one of the top subjects that is coming up in the discussions that we are having with our customers. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Well, in the last part of our meeting today, I would like to surprise you a little and share with you a short announcement that the Romanian cybersecurity market was very motivated and very active in 2021. And as a result, Cisco EE Cybersecurity Cluster of Excellence was created. I think the most effective approach is one based on the principle of cluster experience. As a representative for the Cisco cluster, I can say that this cluster concentrates a complex expertise on the whole spectrum of cybersecurity technologies. In this sense, Cisco EE have advanced capability to fight misinformation, but also advanced capabilities for education, preventing and countermeasures, as well as advanced research and development capabilities. Thus, a holistic approach is possible in terms of expertise and means of action in cybersecurity. In the upcoming conferences events, we will share more on the topic of the Cisco cluster. So stay tuned in the future months to find different ways to collaborate, to make knowledge hubs, and why not to see, find, and understand a new era in cybersecurity. Well, because all gold events must come to an end, in closing part of our today conference, I would like to thank all the speakers, participants, and moderator. I want to invite you to attend our monthly conferences next month in February. We will share in due time the time schedule for this event. I wish you a very fruitful year in terms of cybersecurity, and stay healthy and safe, all of you. If someone have some...
Gabriel, you wanted to comment something, I see in the chat.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just one small comment regarding this insurance and the ransomware. It was a case last year when the ransomware campaign was, in fact, preceded by, let's say, a small espionage and campaign, and the attackers found that the company had some kind of 500,000 K insurance, and they succeeded to launch the ransomware, and they started to deal with the company to pay the money. And the company didn't want to pay the money and insisted not to pay because they knew that have some kind of backup. And the attackers finally sent some kind, but however, they're not your money. You are already insured. They found this due to some stealing of documents from the company servers. So yes, insurance is good, is really good, but you need to be aware that someone could found this data. Yeah, thanks a lot for your presentations, and see you next time. Thank you.